Hello, everyone. I'm Sheldon Baker, editor-at-large and podcast host for Innovision Health Media. My guest today is Dr. Libby. She is one of Australasia's foremost nutritional biochemists and the founder and formulator of the food source supplement company BioBlends. She holds a Bachelor of Health Science in Nutrition and Dietetics with honors and a PhD in biochemistry from the University of Newcastle in Australia. She has gained extensive experience in clinical practice, seeing patients one-on-one, and a world-renowned health retreats over the last 25 years. The #1 best-selling author of 14 books, including her latest, Fix Iron First. Dr. Libby is also a respected international speaker, where she brings to life the 3 pillars of her work: biochemistry, nutrition, and emotions plus mindset. She is an authoritative and trusted voice in nutrition and wellness. Dr. Libby, welcome to Healthy Bytes.
Oh, Sheldon, thank you. And thank you for that generous introduction.
So you are an iron expert. What are some of the statistics around iron deficiency and how common is it?
Sheldon, it is actually the most common nutritional deficiency globally, and it's almost as if other nutrients have become more popular. I think a lot of people these days are familiar with the importance of magnesium and vitamin D, and creatine is certainly having its moment of popularity, but we're forgetting about iron, the most common one, and 55% of adult women are affected by some degree of iron deficiency. And it also affects athletes and children. So about 75% of children, certainly down under, were not eating enough iron-rich foods. And that's very concerning because iron is so crucial for their cognitive development, all of their milestones, essentially. So when we think about iron deficiency, I think one of the first things we think about is fatigue and how tired people are, but it goes far beyond that when we are deficient and continue to live that way.
But you talk about people down under. It affects people worldwide.
Globally, it is, yes, it's the most common nutritional deficiency in every country around the world. And one of the reasons for that is our requirements are actually quite significant. So for adult women, they need 18 milligrams of iron per day just to prevent deficiency. And if someone eats in a vegan or vegetarian way, we have to multiply that RDI by 1.8. So it's more like 32 milligrams. For men, requirements are smaller. It's about 8 milligrams per day. But certainly for growing children and adult women around the world, it's the most common deficiency. And it's very concerning. It's so often not found, it's not tested for, and we can't treat what we don't know exists, obviously.
So what iron is needed in the body? Why is it so important? And does it affect men as well as women?
Yes, it does. And we need it essentially for, if you can imagine that every single second we make 2.5 million new red blood cells, and iron is crucial for the production of those red blood cells. And the reason red blood cells are so important is they carry the oxygen to every cell inside of us. So I like people to imagine that their body is made up of about 50 trillion cells. So imagine a cell is someone took a pencil and drew a circle, that's a cell. And inside every one of those cells is a city. And that the city is constructing things, deconstructing things, and oxygen delivery is required for every cell to be able to do its work. So that's why when we're iron deficient, our energy is enormously compromised. But we also need iron to be able to produce our thyroid hormones. So there's an enzyme called thyroid peroxidase that the thyroid requires to be able to produce hormones and also convert what is an inactive thyroid hormone into the active one. And all of that is completely dependent on iron. And then we also need iron for our mood. So it's crucial for the production of GABA, which is a very calming neurotransmitter. We also need iron to be able to produce dopamine, which again is a neurotransmitter that's essential for motivation, and serotonin and melatonin. So serotonin is for contentment and melatonin is crucial for sleep. And when we're iron deficient, there's almost no area of our health that is not detrimentally affected.
What are the most common signs that someone's iron might be low even before a blood test shows it?
So persistent fatigue that is not resolved by sleep. So I think it's too easy these days to simply write being tired off to a busy life or to modern life and all the things we juggle in life. But when the fatigue is not restored by sleep, the first thing to think about certainly is iron. We can also experience anxiety. So right now, so iron deficiency, a symptom of iron deficiency is actually anxiety. Now, anxiety can be caused by for a whole host of different reasons, but iron deficiency is one of them. And I really want to bring to life, I want that to be top of mind for people when they feel anxious, when their heart starts to race for no reason that they can really explain. We're forgetting about iron. We're very quick to go down a psychological or psychiatric road, and that's the right road for a lot of people. I'm not denying that for a second. But my worry is that that iron deficiency is being forgotten. A study was published in 2023, and it was called The Psychiatric Manifestations of Iron Deficiency Anemia. And the researchers looked at people who'd been diagnosed with low mood or depression, anxiety, and another condition called ahedonia, which is the inability to experience pleasure. And what the researchers found is that the majority of those people were iron deficient, and when they treated it, their symptoms of depression and anxiety either improved significantly or for some it actually resolved. So when we're thinking about our own quality of life, it might take some of those mood symptoms from, say, an 8 out of 10 to perhaps 3 out of 10. And that's a very different quality of life when that happens. So there's some of the things to watch out for before, perhaps testing has been done.
Many iron supplements have a reputation for causing unpleasant side effects. What are they, and are there alternatives?
Sheldon, yes, that's all very true. And yes, there are alternatives. So what I call the old school supplements, they are essentially it's iron bound to either a salt or a chelate. And they're often in very high doses. And when we swallow those old school supplements, when the iron, with whatever it's bound to, when it arrives in the stomach, the acid there splits it apart. It has to, it's supposed to, but then that gives us what's called free iron. And so the free iron is then delivered to the cells that line the gastrointestinal tract. So the cells that line the small intestine, free iron arrives there. And on the surface of a gut cell imagine it like a transporter or a truck, a lorry, and it's called DMT1 is the abbreviation for this transporter. We don't need to worry about the big long silly name. And then the iron hops on the back of that truck and is delivered inside the cell. But the problem with that is that the gut cell is then flooded with exposure to free iron, and free iron is very inflammatory. It drives oxidative stress, and that's one of the contributors to the side effects of those old school iron supplements that are very common, particularly constipation and nausea. So also too, with these old school supplements, the iron is trapped inside the cell. It's not yet in the blood. And to get out of the gut cell, we actually need another nutrient, copper, because the enzyme that will take the iron out of the cell to where it needs to go is completely copper dependent. So iron and copper have a very important relationship. But there's a whole new generation of supplements now. So slow iron especially is an extraordinary raw material, and they take legumes and extract a unique form of iron from it called ferritin iron. So the best way to picture ferritin is like a protein cage, and then inside that cage are thousands of molecules of iron. There can be up to 4,500 molecules of iron in the form of ferrohydrite. We don't need to worry about the form. Just imagine a little protein shell, which is the ferritin, and the iron is all beautifully housed inside there. So when we take a supplement that contains slow iron, the ferritin iron, the majority of it escapes breakdown by the stomach acid, and the whole ferritin protein cage containing all of the iron is delivered right to the gut cell surface, and it's then taken in whole by the gut cell through a process called receptor-mediated endocytosis. Again, we don't need to remember the listeners don't need to remember the big long silly names, but the gut cell takes that whole complex, the ferritin with the iron inside the gut cell. So the gut cell is not exposed to free iron, and it's also not reliant on copper to get that ferritin iron out the back door to deliver it to the total iron pool, which is where it needs to go. So we don't have any inflammation, and then there's no gut-related side effects. So it's certainly the next generation of iron supplements, and it's very exciting and a beautiful way to help people overcome iron deficiency, particularly when it's been very difficult to shift it.
What's the kind of feedback you've received from people who've taken up your product with Slow Iron?
Yes, so I formulated a product called Iconic Iron that contains slow iron, and most days, Sheldon, I get teary with happiness when people write in to say the differences they're experiencing. So it can be that when we do a blood test for iron, one of the parameters we test is ferritin. So that's how humans store iron inside of us. And the ferritin normal range is about 20 to 220 micrograms per litre. And so someone might write to us and say, my ferritin was 14, I've never been able to get it above 20, and I took your product that contains slow iron, I took it for 2 months and my ferritin is now at 43. That's a big jump. We have parents writing in saying, my daughter had become incredibly quiet and withdrawn, her moods were very challenging. She's now laughing again after taking Iconic Iron for only 1 month. So people have written to me saying they feel like they're a better mother. That one really gets me when you think that your energy, your patience improves. It's almost as if when our iron improves, we have more resilience, both physically and emotionally. So the feedback has been extraordinary, both with blood tests and the impact on people's quality of life.
All of those things that you just mentioned, would you say that's what makes the ingredient unique?
Without doubt, and its unique absorption mechanism. I think there are so many women in particular, Sheldon, who they have struggled with iron deficiency essentially since they were young women, from their teenage years onwards, once menstruation begins especially. They've struggled with iron deficiency, and no matter what they do with food, with their dietary intake, or with supplementation, they've not really been able to improve their blood tests significantly, and then also they haven't been able to improve how they feel and their quality of life. And so the gloriousness of slow iron is that it truly moves the needle because it's highly bioavailable because of that unique absorption mechanism. And then there's no side effects because the gut cells aren't exposed to that free iron. I think one of the deterrents to taking iron supplements is people think that they're going to get terrible constipation, and no one wants that. So it's truly a revolution. It's truly groundbreaking, the science behind slow iron and the impact it's having on people's lives.
So you're based in Australia, but you're going to be speaking in the U.S. at Supply Side Global, which is the trade show in Las Vegas on October 29th. What can the audience expect to learn?
So I'll be going into more detail around slow iron and also ways to incorporate it, of course, into supplements, which is what we've done with Iconic Iron. And so as I bring that to life, I guess I'm trying to really help people to become enthusiastic about resolving iron deficiency globally because of the enormous impact it does have on people's quality of life. So I'm very much looking forward to bringing the slow iron story to life in greater detail at Supply Side.
Dr. Libby is the author of Fix Iron First. I want to thank you for being with me today on Healthy Bytes.
Sheldon, it's been a joy. Thank you so much for your wonderful questions in this lovely chat. Thank you.
You bet. And thanks to all of you for watching Healthy Bytes.